Aloha.
Aloha.
It's nice to see you today. Thanks for being here. I'd like to talk a little, share a little bit about some of the things that we've done at Dream Navigator with, in conjunction with the Gold Belt Heritage Foundation. I'm going to first share some time with Erin Monteith, who is with the Gold Belt Heritage Foundation, and she's going to tell us a little bit about our project and how we've been able to work together.
Yep, I'm Erin Monteith. I work with Gold Belt Heritage Foundation as a curriculum developer and professional development lead. And one thing that I was tasked with was to work with Gaylene to develop a curriculum that is grounded in the Tlingit culture and values. So it has been a very quick road. We met mostly on the internet through emails and Zoom. And then we brought Gaylene up to meet with our language bearers and our elders. And it took us 2 days, I think it was. 2 days of pretty intense work where we went over the values and had the elders provide the translations and provide the values. And we had our 2 language writers viciously writing down the translations and comparing notes. And it was really wonderful to see all of that collaboration and hearing the language. I'm learning it very slowly, but I knew what they were talking about. And so that was really, really fun to be a part of. And from there, it has been a lot of editing and a lot of back and forth to create the book that we have in front of us. And we actually just got done doing a teacher educator training the last 3 days over at the Baranoff, and we had about 20.
We ended up with about 20.
About 20 participants throughout the 3 days. So the curriculum is going to be out there in the community, so be asking your middle school and high school kiddos about it in the next couple of months.
Okay, so thank you, Erin. We have been, I have been very, so my name is Gaylene Nikora, and I'm the president and CEO of Dream Navigator. And our, I have been so excited to meet with the Tlingit folks that we've met with, simply because it was a breath of fresh air. They had elders that could give me wise sayings, because in our books, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that later, but in our books we have them give us wise words. We have them tell us stories, and they were here to give us translations of everything, which is not customary, because in most of the tribes that we work with, we have to actually look up books or find our proverbs, our wise sayings from those who have been long gone. And so I was very excited to work with the Tlingits. In fact, when I first started to look up a little bit more about their culture, and they were able to send me some things, I was very emotional, simply because I knew that this was a culture that needed to have this type of work, these types of this type of curriculum for their young people. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about Dream Navigator first, and then we'll go into our curriculum, what we do to help our young people to get jobs. So first, Gunochish to the Gold Belt Heritage Foundation. They were very instrumental in providing the funding for this program and for our ability to bring it forward. So Dream Navigator is central to a lot of things. We actually we help our young people to build their individual determination and motivation to achieve the goals that they have set from their life. So we have them choose goals that actually come from the inside out. We don't tell them what they should do. They come up with their own ideas, and we infuse our curriculum with cultural values. Everything that we do is helping them to find a job. We help them to identify the different careers that are available to them, but our whole focus is to helping them to find a job sometime in their life. We use 3 different resources coming from Alaska, Canada, and here in the United States, as well as throughout Hawaii and New Zealand, to form the basis for our knowledge. We have visualization and goal setting is a big part of it. We provide access to engaging coursework, so our young people will be getting up and sitting down and learning on the go because they like this kind of interactive coursework. So this is what we do, as well as we incorporate core values. So we take the values from each tribe, but we infuse it with values that are important, such as making wise choices and having passion for the things that you do. So this is my observation. The whole reason why I got into this was because I found, and my background's in human resources. I have over 25 years of senior HR experience, and a lot of the work that I've done is with our indigenous young people. And I began to observe certain things about ways that, reasons why they actually chose their careers. And basically it was on financial outcomes, how much money am I going to make? It was on how quickly can I get through it? What are my parents and my friends saying about this career? What are the current trends? What's a hot career? And they were looking at maybe colleges and universities that were close to them. They were looking at jobs that were just around them. So it wasn't making decisions based on who they were. And unfortunately, when you make decisions like this, certain things happen. If they don't really know what they're looking for, they just kind of a spur of the moment, well, let me try this. And in most cases, they just take too long. And when they take too long to make plans for their future, sometimes they delay it to the point where they miss important opportunities for growth. And so things that can result in this, if they don't discover their passion early enough, we end up with students that are dropping out of college or high school, lack of productivity, so when they finally get a job, they're not in the job that they absolutely love, so they will end up just kind of going to work for a paycheck. They start moving around, job hopping, they're trying to search for the right job, they are feeling less than adequate simply because they don't, they're not as good as a person next to them because maybe they don't have the same passion for it, or they're in the wrong career. So as we start looking at that, we see lower income levels, alcohol, substance abuse, and in many cases, criminal activity. And so this is not where we want our young people to be. Our program actually starts with a workbook. And this is a cultural-based workbook where our young people can visualize their future. So in this case, this is the one that we created for the Clinkets. And in the Clinket workbook, they will learn job search techniques. They're going to learn how to fill out applications, how to interview for a job. They're going to learn, first of all, how to find the job that is perfect for them. And we have them seek out mentors and job shadowing. So it's pretty comprehensive in ways that most tribes are not able to take care of with their young people. Our curriculum it's basically resources that we give to teachers. We train them how to, in all of these areas, but it's just basically a whole lot of resources that we give to them so that they can pick and choose based on the needs of their young people. Coaching Young People for Success is a product that we take out of Australia. And the second piece that we have is a Canadian assessments. This is where we have them go online and learn how to use specific assessments that will help them to scientifically identify their jobs that they would love. The Coaching Young People for Success is where we get their emotional buy-in, and that's where they'll actually do a worksheet. It's very quick, several hours. They can get a clear idea of 2 specific jobs that they would absolutely love. That comes from them. And then we will take them on to career cruising, which will give them more choices outside of their normal realm of study or wherever they've been. So we give them a lot of choices. We give them the resources to create resumes and to research their jobs in universities. That's the electronic portion that we give them. In addition to that, then once we get them to decide exactly what they want to do with some certainty, it might change. Then we start taking them through this program, which is actually where we will help them to learn how to get a job. Now that's where I find most schools fail, is because in all the years that I was in human resources, I would have a lot of very capable young people come in, and they could identify where they wanted to be. They just didn't know how to play the game. They didn't know how to reach up and grab it so that they could actually get the job that they wanted. And there were a lot of things that were blocking them. And so my whole idea in creating this curriculum would be so that we would be able to help them to reach up and grab the job that they absolutely wanted. We are now working with tribes all over the United States and some in Canada. We work with the Cree, with the Navajo, the Utes. Let me see, besides the Hawaiian books that we've already done, but the Utes, we are now going to be working with the Shoshone and the Ojibwe and the Arapaho. So within the next few months, we'll be actually working with a few more tribes, as well as the Tlingits. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I love to see how it goes and where it goes. So when we start creating this curriculum, it's interesting to see how many of our young people will now have clearer vision for their lives than they had before. So these are our collective goals for Dream Navigator anyway, but we always like to add, if there's anybody that's interested, to add their own goals maybe for their young people. But basically, it's to improve the well-being of our students by connecting them to their cultural values. We want to awaken them to their true potential and assist them in finding their passion. What is it they want to do in their life that they're going to be able to stay and do and get paid for without even, without even worrying about what they're getting paid, that they're getting paid or not, that they're just going to be wanting to go to work every day. We're also trying to increase high school and college graduation rates simply because we are losing too many of them. We're giving them money to go to school. Most of our tribes have money to give our young people to go to school, but because they're not certain of where they want to go or what they want to do, they're dropping out. I mean, because they're probably not in the right field. Because if they're passionate about it, they would stay. And I asked the question, are there any other reasons why we would want to have curriculum like that? I'm going to ask our little audience. Yes. Anybody have any ideas on why we might want to have curriculum for our young people like this?
Climate change.
Climate change? Tell me why. What do you mean by that?
I think it's important for young people to learn more of their values and get more connected to their culture, and through that, I think you'll start seeing more of a shift for the environment and also mental well-being.
Right, exactly. Thank you.
Well, I'm old enough that I know that my well-being in future years depends on people coming up behind me.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I want young adults to be finding their way.
Yes.
For the sake of them and their families, and then all of us.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And I like how you say about climate change, and I wouldn't have thought of that really, because when we start, until our young people gain that connection to who they are, they're not seeing the value for saving what we have. They don't see it. So I like that connection. Thank you for sharing. So there's a lot of reasons for us to be doing this. So we always say whatever you can do or dream you can do it. So let's begin. I'm going to invite one of our friends up here. So Marcia, can you come and help read this? I'm so bad at the Tlingit language. I want you to come up, and then actually maybe you can share a little bit about, you can use the mic here, and share a little bit about our little journey as we've tried to learn the language and how it's been for you. And Marcia has been one of our key language experts. I can't even say that. Is there a better? She's more than that. But she has helped us immensely. She has helped me immensely in trying to get the language correct in the books.
The title of the book is Andachantiyandei, which means it's the pathway of our grandchildren, for the next generations. But as Gaylene mentioned about our language, I've been involved in teaching Tlingit language. I grew up with it. It's my first language. I can say simultaneously, maybe I was learning English too, not too well, because I remember struggling in school. So you just don't forget that. And back then, I did not have my peers speaking Tlingit. I grew up with some. In fact, there's one of them, her and I always were with elders, but she didn't get the language, but I did, because I grew up with it in the home. But the moment I left the home and went away from the surroundings of my home, it was English. And back then, and in actuality, I didn't really teach my children. It was a form of protection. It's a heartache that most of us speakers have in our hearts, that we did not share it. But it's that part we felt at that time we were doing the right thing at that time. And so my journey kind of started one day when some of my bosses were saying, "Why are you doing this kind of work?" I was actually doing HR work. "Why are you doing that? You should be over at that language conference." And I'm like, because I couldn't even walk in a school because the smell of the school made my insides just tremble, because I couldn't identify it at that time. So when my children were going to school, I was not that active parent. These are the people I'm sending you to. You listen to them well, because they made changes in their life so they could do what they do, and they're doing it better than me. And so I tried to share with my children that they had to listen to their teachers. So until I started getting involved in the language trainings that we had, then I began to start sharing. But the most frustrating part was I could never understand when I got in public and I tried to share, like everybody else, the Tlingit language that I knew I had inside of me. I would cry. And I'd sit down. But the more I shared, I wanted to get beyond that, because I began to see the young people wanting their language, wanting to know who they were. And I had already somehow put in my heart that I was going to share. I don't know how much you want me to share.
That's good. Whatever you want to share is fine.
So we went down that road, but I couldn't do it without my family's blessing either. So guess what? Remember I said I didn't teach my children? So I had to go back and ask each one for their forgiveness that I didn't share that, except for one of my children would not respond to me. I couldn't, there was a workshop coming up to teach us how to teach language. And a bunch of us used to gather. I couldn't go until I had my whole family's blessing. Finally, I called them back up about a week later. And then it dawned on me, I never told my children. Some of them didn't even know that I knew Tlingit. That's how well I hid it. My dad passed away. He was one of the few, and more of the elders passed away, that knew I did speak. So, anyway, him and I had this nice conversation, and I had to apologize that I never shared what had happened to us as speakers. So, eventually, we got beyond that. So, I teach in the university. I've taught in the university for several years. I've taught Tlingit language, and some of the students are now out into the community, and they're teaching. And some of these ones that are on the cover of our book are some of my Tlingit language students who are still in high school today, and very interested. And 20 years ago, we didn't have this much Tlingit happening in the community. We didn't. And some of the events that we have here with what the youth are doing, the youth ambassadors from the community, and that the organizations that are very diligently trying to provide space for the young ones to learn their language and to learn about their culture. And I can see the change when they learn about who they are, because it's not just within our own introduction. Not just learning how to introduce ourselves, but when you begin down that route and you begin to learn why you say your name, why you say your grandparents, why you say your father's people, and then you apply the history to each one, and you begin to see the history of the Southeast unfold right before your eyes. It's a different style of learning. It doesn't go with the conventional educational, the institution of education, so to speak. It's just still the old style. And it's brought into today, and it's kind of contemporized, so to speak. But, so in our children learning, and we recognize today that they need this extra tool in order for them to be successful. But I think one of my things is I would like to see them successful in developing careers to keep our culture and our language heard on this land, which is what needs to happen. So it's quite an honor to be on this journey, and it's been wonderful to work with Gaylene. And they have gone through theirs, and it's very seldom that when we work with people at this level that they have an understanding of our hearts. And so, Gunafchish, Gaylene, for how you've kind of gave us an instrument to help our people, and Aaron for stepping into that role. I don't think we're going to see immediately, but we are going to. I'm going to say 5 years down the road, and I'd like to see those people who may become your coworker or your coworker. I'm older, but I can see it. You know, the kids that we saw yesterday dancing, they're going to be colleagues down the road. Or the young man that did one of our talks. some of our kids are going to be his colleagues. So it's exciting. Gunafjish. So if you need me.
Yeah. Thank you. So we could probably just stop right now and just say, okay, mahalo, thank you very much. But I really wanted to bring that forward in what Marcia has just said. You know, this whole conference is called Sharing Our Knowledge. And this is exactly what we have been able to do during this last few months, is sharing our knowledge. We are seeing things that have been working for us in Hawaii, and we're bringing it here to say, can this work for you? Can this bring your young people a bigger understanding of who they are and why these stories are going to be important for them? Because as they learn who they are, they become stronger. A couple of days ago, we went to a little ceremony where I was able to see, for the first time, a young man getting a name, his Tlingit name. And I was like, oh my gosh, because he stood a little taller. You know, once he got his name, and he was the cutest young man, and he was doing his dance, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he understands what it is to have his culture behind him, or at least to be able to understand how important that is to him. And so that's exactly why we did this, because our young people have to have that tulatsin, so that they understand that they have that moral strength, the strength to go forward and move forward in their lives and achieve great things. But they're going to have a few tools to get them there. And so that's what we do, is we give them those tools. And so thank you, Marcia, for sharing that, because sometimes we forget how important it is that we get over what we have to do in order to be able to share our knowledge with our young people. So we actually, all of our other books that we've had in different places, we called our books A Dawning of a New Day, because it's a new day for them. But our elders here said, no, we want this to be a pathway for a noble generation. We want to change the whole name. We want it, so it was a little bit more work to get the whole theme for the books to go into this sort of thing. So if you look in all of the books, the covers, and there will be other books coming out in the next few weeks, that all of the covers are pictures of our Tlingit children, young people, and they're all, and throughout the slides you're going to see them, because that is who we are really meaning to reach. And our elders truly want to keep the language and the culture alive, and this is how we're doing it. Starting. The first one is, we have different values throughout the program, and the first one is making wise and correct choices. And the reason why we started there is because if you don't know how to make a wise choice, then everything is for nothing. You know, you start with being wise in the things you have done. Our wise words are our proverb, and I'm going to only do it in English, I'm sorry, but this is the Tlingit translations, and it is having reverence for our Creator. And you know, we've lost that in a lot of our schools, where we don't teach our young people too often on what it is that they need to, where we get our power and strength from our Creator, who is there for us in all things. And this is where we start our books off. So making wise and correct choices means making choices that will bring happiness to our clan and to our ancestors. It's doing things in the right way for the right reasons, and actually having a respect for our environment, for our Tlingit culture, and our home and our communities. It means making wise choices so that we can achieve our goals. We start the book with utilizing some of the teachings about the four corner posts, and about us being a human being and how we should be listening. And you are a human being. You are intelligent. You will respect all things. You are to work together. These are words that we're taking from our ancestors, not stuff that I made up. This is coming to us from those who have come before us. And I think it is so profound. And we start our books with learning about the four corner posts. This is our young person. So what we normally do is we have a hero. We have heroes from our past, but we also have a young hero. And this is Elijah. Elijah's last name is? Martin? Marks. Sorry, Elijah Marks, and Elijah is our young hero in the book, and we actually patterned the storyline after his brother Joseph, and so Joseph is really who we use in the book, but Elijah is our model, and he was wonderful. But as you work through the book, they're going to have a better plan for their future. We always ask the same questions throughout the book: where am I now? Where do I want to be, and how am I going to get there? There has been so much sadness in some of our tribal histories and the things that might have come before. We want our young people to say, okay, we will respect and acknowledge the past, but what we want to do now is to actually start working towards a better future. We're going to start moving ahead. We all see their life is still unwritten. Anything they want to do in the future is theirs to do. Our second lesson in the book is to keep commitments. And it says, and this is the proverbs that were given to us, is be true to your life. Set your mind, or make up your mind now, and be committed to that choice. The value for this is when you decide upon a career path, make a promise to yourself that you're going to do everything you can. You're not going to just sit there and say, it's going to come to me, that I will take action to get my dream job, that I'm going to be committed and I'm going to be self-discipline, so that I will someday have the life that I want to lead. We ask them to choose classes that they want to have. So we start guiding them through the process of actually getting to their career goal. We have them create SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timeline. So we have them do that. Those are the ways that we help them get through that chapter, that lesson. The next lesson is finding strength in achievement. We want them to be proud of the things they've done as much as we are proud of the things that their parents have done, their grandparents have done before them. Our wise words for this lesson is having them to open the door to their future. We want them to walk through that door. The value for this lesson is that having them understand that they can accomplish great things in their life if they use their time wisely. So you can see that we want them to understand the value of using their time. And it's meaning that if they can open the door to their future, even when, and go through that door even when obstacles get in their way. Okay, you guys are welcome to chime in. I'm just kind of teaching us a little bit about what's in the book here. Mm-hmm. Do we have some sample books that the others can look at maybe? Yes. What time is it now?
You have 24 minutes.
Okay, we're gonna hurry. We want to play some game. Okay, one of the stories that we have in this, in our book, is Raven in the Box of Daylight. And that's one of the things that we've really enjoyed. I've enjoyed learning about how the daylight came through the smoke holes, and stars came, and it's just it's a delightful story. And this is where we teach our young people about persistence, because he was very persistent in being able to get those boxes from his grandfather. Mm-hmm. And I really like the way that actually the story was told by David Katsik. Mm-hmm. Katsik, is that a way to say it? Mm-hmm. Katsik. And Ishmael Hope was our translator. And it was so beautiful to read it in the original language and the way it was taught, because it was melodic, it was poetry. In our book, we put it into a paragraph form, which was a little bit easier for our students to read, but I totally wish that we could have had the entire story told to them in the way that David was able to. We should probably.
We're working on it.
Do that, yes. Just tape.
We're working on it.
Okay, so This lesson is strictly planning your day. We teach them how to schedule their time better with weekly schedules, monthly schedules, those kinds of things, a to-do list. Those are the things that we're trying to have them learn in this chapter. We want them to have a balanced lifestyle. Interestingly enough, our young people think they have to have time left in their day to do fun things. If they're coming from my generation, we didn't know that there was time in our day left to do fun things. But they want a balance in their life that we probably never knew we had. So this is where we teach them about understanding what parts of their life are not in balance. Is it the physical, emotional? Is there too much of school and whatever? But we want to also have them think about their cultural and spiritual balance as well. The next lesson is for them to have hope and search. Because what we're going to be doing, and it's have patience, don't be in a hurry, have patience, take a step back, choose your career wisely, but we also want them to start looking on the internet. So there's things that we have them do, and our value basically is, when is the last time you looked at the stars, or when is the last time you watched the sunset, or when's the last time you looked up instead of looking down? We want you to see that there are really no limits or boundaries to what you can do. You can do anything. And if you just dream big. If you're going to dream big. Because those are things that you can do. At this point, we talk about the sea lion and the ptarmigan. I love this story. It's about the sea lion who keeps getting knocked down, and he picks himself up, and he gets knocked down again, and then he ends up giving up. He goes up to the mountain, and the little ptarmigan gives him rocks to eat, so that he's able to have the strength to stay on that reef and continue to become the leader that he should be. And his uncle tells him to have courage. Have courage. And this is what we want our young people to do, is have courage. Keep going. Keep trying. It will happen for you if you just stay to the course, And so this is where we are actually teaching them how to choose a job. They're gonna do internet. They're gonna go on the internet and start applying for jobs, and they're going to do a little bit of fun things as they start to go on the network and choose jobs that are right for them. We have an activity in there. One of the activities that we have a lot of activities, but one of the activities that we have them do is to actually choose jobs that they can do right now, because they seem to think that they can get anything, any job, anytime, anywhere. But we say, okay, what kind of job can you do right now? What job can you do after high school? Which job can you get as a career? So once they start pinpointing that, they begin to see, where am I now? Well, this is all the jobs I can get now. Where do I want to be? This is the jobs I want for my career. And this is one of the ways you're going to get there, is start working with that. So we have a lot of different exercises in the book that will help them to realize who they are and how they're going to get there. One of the other activities that we have is for them to use their smartphones. Most of them have little phones, and we have them to identify specific companies. We give them different jobs, and we say, here, look for this job up, and we play little games with them and teach them how to quickly find a job on the internet, and we have them look at salaries and all this other stuff. Very quick way for them to see that finding jobs on the internet is not as hard as it could be. The next chapter has to do with showing respect and gaining understanding. Now, this one is very interesting. And when we say to show respect, it's because we want them to work with mentors, people that are in the job before them, in jobs that they're already in jobs that they want to aspire to. So these are people in the workforce that can help them. And while we do that, we are also talking to our elders, to those who are older than us, who can give us advice. So we say, listen well and with respect. And when I wrote this part, I just said, there's a lot of times when our young people don't want to listen to people that are older than them. There's a point in their life that they say, I I know more about me than you do. Well, in this value for this particular chapter, we're saying take a step back. Take a step back and really listen to what they're saying. Pay attention, because it's often interesting to find out how people see things which might be different from the way you see things. And so we're encouraging them to look at things from another person's perspective. We're good? Can we keep going? You have anything? You had something.
When you get to the slide.
Okay. One of the first things we do is have them do an informational interview. In the informational interview, they're actually going out and they're making phone calls. We teach them how to actually ask for the information interviews and ask for the these other job shadowing opportunities. But they will have a chance to gain confidence as they practice their interviewing skills by going out into the community or calling family members or interviewing people that might have some perspective on the jobs that they want to do. We have to let them do that. And most times it's easier for them to make up their minds about a job once they've had an informational interview and a job shadowing opportunity. And I'm going to turn over to some time to Erin.
One thing with the job shadowing is it takes a lot of time to find the right fit for each of the students, or to even find people willing to allow the students to come into their workplace and follow them around and be that job shadow. And that's something that I'm going to be working on here in the near future with the school district is do they do job shadowing? I'm new to the Juneau area as of January this year. So I want to dig into that a little bit deeper, because it does take time. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of patience. And I know when I did my first job shadow as a 9th grader, I went to an interior design and it was the most boring thing in the world. And I was like, yep, I'm not doing that again. And it really helped me navigate into what I truly wanted to be, which was in education, which I was really fighting against because my family is all educators. And I'm like, I just don't want to do that. And so it's very powerful for our young people to try the jobs, because there are so many educators, and I'll speak from that point of view, that go into college. They spend 3-4 years, they do the training, they get into the classroom, they do their student teaching, they're like, this is ridiculous, I don't want to do this. And they've just spent 4 years of college doing something they actually don't love. So that's something that I really want to build here in the next couple of years, to really help our young people find their passion, be it working with fish all the way up to being lawyers and everything in between, because we need the community. We need all of those people and jobs to help us thrive.
Thank you, Erin. When I've had some feedback from some other tribal leaders and those who have worked with our program, they have found that the job shadowing piece is often the most difficult part of the program to do, because you actually have to go out into the community and get people that are willing to help you do that. So I just wanted you to know that if you have any resources or know of people that are interested in having our young people shadow them, it is invaluable to them. I have children that have, a daughter-in-law who actually went through 4 years of college, and then had to do an internship with her student teaching, and realized that it wasn't really what she wanted. And after going through that entire time, paying all that money, and then to discover at the end of your college education that really isn't what's in it for you. It's heartbreaking for me. Fortunately, she found joy in it again. She found passion in it again. So she is back in the classroom, but it took a little while for her to get used to it. So we want them to have that opportunity with job shadowing before they need to get into the workforce. The next slide that we want to talk to, the next chapter, is about creating a winning attitude. As an HR person, I've had over 25 years of senior HR experience. I have found that it's very easy for me to find somebody with skills and talents. It's not so easy for me to find somebody with a good attitude. Somebody who's willing to go the extra mile, who's willing to stay the extra day to work if need be, and to do the things that I need to have. So we want our young people to understand that attitude is something that is not easily purchased, and if they can walk into any situation with a good attitude, the chances of them getting a job are much higher. Wise words is, we want our young people to work towards having a good attitude. We want them to learn how to have that. Our value is for them to seek new opportunities for growth. And we said, if you've got a good attitude, it's surprising. You'll be surprised at how successful and happy your life is going to be. We discussed a few things about what employers truly want. There are a lot of things that people want. They want professionalism, they want attitude and drive, they want a company fit, they want education degrees and certificates, and they want to know that you have experience, they want to know that you can be trained, they want to know that you have leadership. That when I was an HR director, we wanted everything. We didn't always get everything, but that's what we wanted. We wanted all these things. And then, but we found that, and I always talk to my college students when I'm teaching, I tell them, there's education is only one little piece in this puzzle. And so if you're thinking that just because you have a college education and you're getting good grades that you're going to get your dream job, it's not exactly true. You have to be more well-rounded, and you have to be able to have a lot more than just that education. And by the way, most of them think, well, I don't have the experience. And I think, remember, that's only one part of the equation. There's other things that you need to have in order to be able to get the job that you want. So never fear. You can get what you want. You just have to try and do it. Now, Shauna, can I give that mic to her? Mm-hmm. Shauna's a wonderful example. Do you mind sharing a little bit? Shauna, you can come up here, you can sit there, but come on up here. I want to talk to you for a minute. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Okay. She is a beautiful example of a young Tlingit woman who has chosen to make who I think is exactly what most employers would want. And I want you to kind of tell our folks here what you do.
Hi, my name is Shauna Yeomans. Gia Hadisti Yuhat SOK. Yanyeri Ayahat. Chak Ayahat Takukwan. That is my really, really broken Tlingit. But I'm from Atlin, just over the glacier, and I work for my First Nation as a land guardian. And so we're basically the eyes and ears of our First Nation, and we do a lot of monitoring, whether it's within the mines, human activity, wildlife, or fisheries, and everything in between. And so basically when I first got on the job, I didn't have any experience, but what the job kind of created was a foundation for me to get a little bit deeper into my own heritage, the local heritage, into our histories, and really, it gave me that real safe space to really get into my culture again. And yeah, it's a pretty amazing tool, being able to reach into your heritage files and be able to listen to your ancestors and look at old transcripts and be able to also sit in meetings and getting experience on political sides versus community engagement, and being able to get field experience as well as networking experiences. So, yeah.
I'm going to give her a hug. I just called her up. I want you to know that. She is an amazing, you can go. She is an amazing young woman. And she is, can I share your age? Yes. She's 26. Can you imagine us having, I'm getting goosebumps right now because this is what we're looking for. I'm getting goosebumps everywhere because she is what we're looking for to lead our future. And you see how definite she is about what she does and how she does it. I'm just thinking, if we can help our young people, any of them, to do some of the things that she's doing, then we have done our job. We have done our job. Brad? Okay, so we're going to keep going. We've got a couple of minutes left. The next lesson is about understanding one's inner strength. And we want them to establish their thoughts, their goals, their mission, understand what their inner strength really is. And we all have this tuwulatsin. Our power strength comes from within. It comes from within us. It cannot be bought. It cannot be traded. It has to come from us. We have to be able to do great things and use the inner power and strength that we have to overcome adversity. Because I'm sure you had a lot of adversity as you were starting to move ahead and as you're in your job, Shauna. But we have to teach our young people to have that willpower to move ahead. And so we have a little story in here about a young Tlingit boy and how he became a man. And this is a little bit about how he had to go into the bear cave and how his older brothers, they came running out, could not give the information to their uncle, their dear uncle, who wanted them to tell him where, who was facing the front of the cave, who was in the cave, who was facing the front of the cave, what the bears were doing. And it was only the youngest child, probably the one that didn't know better, but he was the youngest young man who was able to do what his uncle asked him to do. It's written in a different style, but I love the moral of the story and how we can have that inner strength, and whoever is man enough to do what needs to be done will be able to be in charge of the hunt the next day. So in this chapter, we give them the tools of what's important. So resume, cover letters, we teach them how to get out of the box and think about ways that they can fulfill the needs of their employer. So that's really that chapter. I call that Build Your Canoe. We talk about building their canoe. This next few chapters have to do with having the ability to have passion for what they're doing. Because passion in interviews, passion in a job is really what makes us successful. And so this chapter here is about interviews. And so we tell them to speak with care. There are 3 P's of interviewing. We call them preparation, passion, and perseverance. And preparation means actually trying to become the best fit, to do some research, to dress well. We want them to look at the company on the internet and find out, what kind of jobs are there, benefits, full-time, part-time, to do some real good research on their prospective employer, their new prospective employer. Step 2 is passion, and this one I like a lot because I would have a lot of people that would come into my office and say, well, I didn't get the job because I'm more qualified than that person you hired. Why didn't you hire me? And I'd say, well, and it was really because they didn't have passion in the interview. They weren't able to connect. They didn't have the confidence that was needed. They didn't have a lot of things, like I said, that went beyond experience and education. We want them to create a memory, so that they're memorable to the good memory. We want them to have a good memory, but we want them to create a memory, a story, something with their interviewers, so that their interviewers will know exactly how and why they are the best fit for the job. Step 3 is perseverance. And this is where I find our young people, especially our indigenous young people, they really need help with. Because nobody likes failure. Nobody wants to be told that you're not good enough. Well, what happens typically, and not only with our indigenous, but quite often with our indigenous children, they just give up. They just give up. And we tell them, don't give up. Keep going. Even if you got turned down, that just means you're not the right fit. It doesn't mean that you're useless. It just means that you've got more work to do, more ways to find out how you're going to get that job. And this is a quote that I like to use here because it was on my father's desk forever. And it's a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson that says, that which we persist in doing becomes easier to do, not because the nature of the thing has changed, but because our power to do has increased. So I say, even if you didn't get that job and you interviewed and you didn't get it, it's okay. That interview is giving you experience. Next time you're going to do a little bit better. Next time you're going to look into the eyes of your interviewer. You're going to be able to walk in with more confidence. And so all of these things are important for our young people to know, just even if they've not gotten the job that they wanted. And they will. Our last lesson in it is to teach them how to build trusting relationships. It's trust that we have to earn and not. One of my first bosses and my supervisors, and I'd say, well, they don't even trust us. And she goes, you don't get trust. I said, we don't get any trust. And she said, you don't get trust. You earn it. And so this is what the whole purpose of this last section is actually helping them to understand how to build a network. And our wise words is they will look to you with respect, which is what we want them to get, not to earn, sorry. And our value is trust is built by serving others and by fulfilling your promises and commitments on time or ahead of schedule. And as you build your trusting relationships, your network will grow. A lot of us forget that we have to serve others before we get trusting relationships. Service is sometimes highly underrated in our society. Okay, so the last couple of things have to talk about networking, helping them to understand that they have a huge network. They just have to find out who they are. We teach them how to do an elevator introduction, how to introduce themselves really quickly. And we also teach them a little bit about social networking, the good things and the bad things. So in conclusion, Dream Navigator motivates our young people by helping them to identify their career choices, and then we give them a model for thoughtful decision making. We teach them how to make good decisions. And finally, we engage them with stories and legends about their ancestors so that they can become grounded to who they are, why they should be doing well, and how they should be doing it in the way that our ancestors have taught us. I'd like to close with this final thought coming from my culture. And we call this an olelo no eao, or a proverb. And it says, Ike no ikala oka ike mana no I kala oka mana. And that is, there is a time for learning and a time for doing. Find your strength in worthy accomplishments. Thank you very much for letting me speak to you today. Anything else?